time to wake up and join us this morning for this personal development 90-day challenge catch-up call. This isn't particularly our mastermind calls. We wanted to do a catch-up call for our 90-day challenge, and we've been doing that here over the past couple of weeks in between this month of between the month of or more so between Labor Day and Memorial Day, as we're working on this 90-day goal setting challenge. But we want to have a quick catch-up call. I know I said quick on the last call, and we ended up on here about 2.5 hours, but I do want to be intentional around the purpose of this catch-up call. And for those of you who are new to the Dream Makers Network and the Mastermind Call, we host personal development calls throughout the year, and for the purpose of really giving us an opportunity to focus on what it is that we're here to do, what it is that we're working on, what are the things that we've kind of kicked under the rug and hadn't spent time focusing on, what are those goals that we truly want to see come together, but we've allowed life to really get ahead of those goals, and we prioritize other things, if you will, above what it is that we are here to do. And every year, every summer in particular, we focus on a goal setting challenge, a 90-day goal setting challenge, where we can really take a second and just dive in on what it is that we're trying to work on, measuring our process, identifying the challenges, doing all the things that, dust yourself off and get back in the game. And so we usually host these mastermind calls on a monthly basis, but when we're having a focused challenge like this, we wanted to have these catch-up calls where we can at least free up some time just to touch base with each other to see, where are we? How are things going? Are we running into roadblocks? Are we having successes that we just didn't realize would happen? How do we handle success? Is success abnormal? And we are in a emotional space that's different, and so we wanted to do this. So we've been jumping in just about every 2 weeks just to interrupt all that you're doing, to stop for a second, talk through what you're working on, and then even be able to kind of strategize, if you will, to go a little bit further. You recognize where you are now and all the things that you've done to get to this current point, but to even be able to imagine a little bit further into the process, and where you may not be there yet, but what's possibly to come. And and I'll be honest with you, just full disclosure, I need these calls, if you will. I need to be able to connect with you guys and to be able to say, here's what's going on my side, right? And be able to talk through and have these conversations that will, after we finish this call, we hang up, we log off, we're able to look at what's next with a different perspective, if you will, just to be able to prepare and go in a direction that could be definitely in line with the goals that we've set. And so, but again, thank you guys who are on. If you're on for the first time, welcome to the Dream Makers Network. And for those of you who've been connecting with us over the past almost 10 years now, truly more than excited and thankful for your time, energy, leadership, participation, the whole nine. Friendship, it's just been more than valuable in words that I don't have to articulate. So thank you for joining in this morning. And we truly do look forward to hearing from you and on today's call. And so also, and if you're online, please feel free to go into our chat, connect with us, let us know what you're doing. What are your goals? If you have questions, pop them in the chat. We are ready to dive in and have this conversation in some level of detail. And again, I promise, I know I said this last time, I promise not to keep you long, but I do want to make sure that we take time to really dive in and have this conversation and see where folks are and how things are going on this 90-day goal setting call. All right. So we are now officially in the month of August. We've gone through the month of June, where we're focusing on becoming, creating the mindset to accomplish goals. Being able to create the mindset to accomplish goals, identifying what the goal is and why, and making sure you have the right resources, making sure you have the right information, access to the right people, have the right models in your mind that will help you to be successful in this new goal that you have. There's something that's not currently a part of your life that you want to welcome into your life. This is the month of June when we're focusing on becoming what it is that our mind is focused on, this new goal that we're trying to accomplish. The month of July is really focused on the month of doing, and now doing the work, being in a space where you're now testing out what it is that you said, I want this into my life. I want to manifest. I want to realize what it is that we are focused on creating, but I have to get into the process of doing it. And whatever that doing is for you, for each of us, our goals are different, but at some point you have to go out of the mind phase and transition into the application to begin the process of doing the work. And now that we are into the month of August, into the have phase, the have phase, where you're going through the process of doing it, you understand and you've gotten excited about this a particular goal and objective. You've gone through the process of repetition and doing it over and over again, trying to get better, really learning this new craft, learning this new process, this new lifestyle, if you will, whatever it is that your goal is. And now it becoming something that is a part of your behaviors, that is a part of your lifestyle, a new neural pathway, a new learned behavior, if you will, something that is now a part of your understanding because you've gone through the process of not only getting excited about it, having this this mental model that you see every day, going through the application of doing it and practicing. Like my daughter used to always say, if she saw someone who wasn't doing something right, she'd say, "Do you think they practice? Did they practice before they did this?" And that's the piece. Are you practicing? And what does your practice look like? I remember my old football coach used to say, "Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes it perfect." And so, how are you practicing? Is your practicing even? Do you have successful practice, if you will? Are you doing a good job? How are you determining that your practice and the things that you're doing every day to get ready, prepared, and learn that it's actually successful, that you're learning the right things to help you accomplish the goal? These things are so important while we're going through the steps of pursuing things that are new, but they're new to you. Somebody else may have done it before, but to you, it's a new thing. And wanting to be in a position where you're able to realize this into your life and making sure you're going down the right road to accomplish these goals. And so before we dive so deep into all that we've done and what we've been experiencing, or more so for this particular month, we want to take a second and just kind of talk through where we are, your current reality, the things that are real to you right now, the things that are, if you were making progress, say, for a couple of weeks and things slowed down, what were the issues? If you've had exponential success and you're trying to figure out how to keep your current life or the life before, the normalcies, lined up with this new progress, this new energy, this new activity that's going on, with and doing all of this all while staying sane. So these are things we want to be able to talk through and make sure that we are really being able to, just counsel each other and give some best practices back and forth. As some of you may have really been through this process, this stage, where others, this could be a brand new space for you, and it could be uncomfortable. We want to make sure that we do have that conversation as well. And at the same time, we just use this time also to just release, to just have a, a space where you can talk about it and feel as if there is a response, if someone is going to come back and share or provide some level of counsel, that you're talking to a network of folks who are all in the same space, who are pursuing at the same time. And that's the beauty of the mastermind, to be able to organize and assemble like-minded people together for a singular purpose. In this case, we're focused on personal development, growth, goal setting, and making sure that we are not just giving up on the things that truly matter to us, but we're actually applying and pursuing goals on an ongoing basis. And so we want to create this safe space for you to share as to whatever it is that you're working on and the things that truly matter to you. So again, I promise not to keep you long, but let's take some time, and I'll kick off here, to just kind of talk about on my side and what we're doing here. And so we are in the month of August, and I am officially in Florida. So for those of you who know us and know our family, we're lived in Maryland several years, recently here, and for past maybe a 1 week today, I believe, we're in Florida. And just the whole process, the transition of making a change, but at the same time, being able to keep the things that are normal, but then at the same time, walking into all the newness, all the things that I haven't lived in Florida and in my hometown for over 23 years. So it's not the same place that it was when I was growing up. There are roads that exist now that did not exist when I was here growing up, and so, there are people who were part of my normal circle when I was here before who are no longer here. And there are people now who you have to introduce yourself to. So it's a whole new world. And I have my family with my wife and daughter. And this is a brand new territory for them. And so you have that aspect of just the newness of going into something that is outside of your norm. But then you have the other side of it, which is filled with expectation. The side that is focused on the work that we're here to do, the purpose behind the move, the energy associated with what's to come, the ongoing communication between ourselves together and our current conversations and direct relationship with God, and having an open ear and being led and not fighting and pushing back, but just being as willing of a vessel as possible to be obedient. And so that part is very exciting, to know that you have work to do. You're staying and trying to be a good steward and a good student to everything that your current responsibilities are, but at the same time to be able to take a step back and look around and assess what's possible, to identify the things that what's next, like what can we do, how can we be of good service, how can we add value to not only the lives and the people who we will meet and touch here, but even to our own personal objectives. How can we add value in both spaces, and making sure that our activities are lined up with our purpose? That part for me is very exciting. I say the word exciting because it's you can use several different words to fully explain the feeling, but I associate what some people may call nervousness, or some people may call being anxious, or all of these different types of words to explain the way you feel when you're walking into the unknown. I associate all those various emotions with excitement, because especially when there is some level of purpose that is pushing us in a direction. And as long as that is the case, right? As long as we're being pushed by purpose to go into the unknown, to go into uh, waters that have not been swim in those areas, to walk into areas where we've never seen, to meet people who we've never met, to share in ways that we've never shared before. Um, if it's being pushed by purpose, then it's excitement. If you're in unknown waters and you're in an unknown territory and you're surrounded by unknown people and you don't feel a sense of purpose in what it is that you're here to do, then yeah, nervousness, worry, doubt, all of those other, adjectives that can pop up will take over. And that is the main objective that, and I would say my main goal to having that ongoing conversation with God, the creator of all of this, to make sure that if we're here and if we're going into a space, that it's being backed and supported by purpose, by work that I'm supposed to be doing, versus just the let's just try this out over here with no purpose or intention. And so it is in so many words, you think about the things that you're bringing those tools with you. The experiences that we've had, we're bringing those tools with us. All of the things that have helped us up to this point in life, we're bringing. And I'm just one of those people who believe that not only will those tools be helpful, but to have the greatest tool, which is that ongoing communication with the creator, to say, you've given me these tools, and now you've put me into an unknown space, but I still feel like there's work to do here. So I'm going to take these tools, these experiences, the understanding, the knowledge. I'm going to take all those things and go to work here. But I need you to come in and address all the areas that I don't know. Don't stop talking to me. It's basically what I'm saying. Don't stop talking to me. And whatever I need to do to make sure that you don't stop talking to me is I'm willing and able to do it. So, because the last thing you want is to be in a situation. It's almost like, you got your flashlight and you're going into the woods at 2:00 in the morning, and you're like, all right, well, I'm good. I can see what's going on. And then all of a sudden, the flashlight stops. It's like, whoa, wait a second. I don't have infrared eyes. I can't see through what's going on here. I need this flashlight to work. We're in that space. Or I'm going to retreat and see if I can find my car and get out of here. And that's what we don't want. It's that situation where we feel like I need to retreat and go back to my comfort zone, and go back to, where I just came from, because one, I didn't feel like I didn't hear and didn't feel like I was in right relationship, so I could hear and know where I should go, and I felt abandoned, if you will. And so for me, that is a big part of diving into the unknown, being in that position where you say you walk by faith, because you're in an unknown space, but you're not so worried about it because you see something that needs to be built. You see something that needs to be created, and you keep seeing, whatever that slight idea started to build, and then it built again, and then it built again, and it just continued because you saw a need. You understand, you have some information and some resources around possibly creating something that could plug a hole. If People need a certain type of thing, and you're looking around and say, when is somebody going to bring the water? So you recognize that people need water, and it's like, can we just go get some bottled water real quick? I'm sure other people see what I see, and the truth is, maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe they see the same people you see every day, but they don't care. Or it's just not on their radar. They're not purposed to do what you are focused on doing. And the thing that you see as a no-brainer, they're not purposed to do it. That's your purpose, right? And so we can't get too judgmental because someone else hadn't done what you all have fired up and it seems like it should be a no-brainer to do. This is the space that I would say on a personal level where I am. And I think that when I take a step back and just really look around and then couple that with current experiences, current energy, current mindset, current goals, there's no other energy to even talk about, or feeling or emotion to talk about, other than excitement, other than pure excitement, because the opportunity that I see in my mind is greater than I can even articulate. And that's current reality. so it's part of the work. And so these types of these goal setting calls and being able to organize and structure and all of that and create some steps, it's so helpful. It's more than helpful, because without kind of a roadmap, a clear line that, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, then you can find yourself doing good things, just maybe not in order, or in an order. And we start doing one thing before we should. It's like that's a good thing to do, but not yet, right? And so that's part of what I wanted us to talk a little bit about. Where we are, current reality, and what have we experienced up to this point right now? How do we feel? Are we on pace? What is your measuring stick? That kind of thing, just so we can at least. And because on the last call, we talked about simplicity, being able to have these big goals, but a simple process that allows you to see where you're going. And the big goal doesn't seem so big anymore. Being able to look at look at an elephant and say, how do I digest this? It's like, I was back home in Maryland, and we had a farmer. We would go and pick up our produce from the farm, and they had this one thing, and they said, well, listen, hey, I know you've been purchasing this meat, and I know it seems like you like that meat. How about you go ahead and just buy a cow, right? Or buy a hog. You can buy the whole thing. And they showed us how you can cut it all up, and so without, like, for instance, if they just would have said, hey, buy the hog, for $200, there you go, call it a day. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with this thing? I'm not a farmer. I'm not a butcher. I don't know anything about that. But when they say you can buy the whole cow, but here are the various pieces. In particular, here are the ones that I know you like because you've been purchasing this over the past several years. So here's how you would attack, or if you will, eat the cow, And so that's the thing, those steps, to be able to visualize it, which now this big thing now seems like something very attainable. And there's nothing more exciting to being able to have a big goal that is now feels and seems very attainable. That is the power of personal development and progress. And so with that, I want to stop. I've already rambled on for 30 minutes. So so let's take a second. Let's stop now. We'll open up the call. Anybody have any questions, comments, would love to share where they are in this 90-day goal setting challenge. Let's talk through it. Let's unpack it. We'll take a second and open up the call now. And the same for our folks here on social media. Definitely feel free to add in your comments in the comment section. We'd love to dive in, or you can we'll respond as you're going through, or call us directly, and feel free to join the live call as well. So we'll open up the call now.
Hey D, so this is Ty. So I love what you just said, and this is kind of what I've been working through. That's been the last call more than anything. It's like seeing it, is looking at this big goal, but also just seeing those pieces and those small steps and making those small steps simple so that it's attainable. One of the small steps for me is I'm working with a coach or a program for lifestyle change. And what I love most about it is how they made it super basic, and they don't overcomplicate things, and they just try to keep it as simple as possible. And so with the simplicity in the midst of everything I'm dealing with right now, and thank you all for all the love and support and prayers, I can still halfway sort of kind of do it, and I'm still making progress, even though I haven't been able to be as meticulous about my meal preps or meticulous about my workout. I'm still able to make choices that are aligned with the simplicity because the way that it was brought to me. And so I can still make those choices very close to, if not, very perfectly, that are aligned, I should say. The things are aligned. And so that has helped with, again, the lifestyle change. And it's not, I'm past the point in my life where I know dieting doesn't work for me. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It has to be a complete overhaul of thought and addressing the issue or the relationship I have with food, and then just changing activities. Everything we do just can't be food centered. That's okay. It's like we can get together. I don't need help eating.
Yeah. So
let's get together, and I'm scared to go hiking by myself. So can I get someone to go hiking with you?
Okay.
That's where I am. So, and I'm being honest about it. I tell people I don't need help eating. Let's go do something. I make the standard pool day. So on my pool day, hey y'all, let's do this or that. What's up with it? And so just really being able to see the big goal, but know that these small steps and things being done incrementally and creating those small, simple processes are helpful long term and sustainable long term, and allowing me to meet my goal, maybe not as rapidly because I haven't been as focused as I had been in the previous round, but still allow me to still make progress because I can make choices because the process is simple. So keep it simple, stupid is a real thing.
Yeah, I love the way Dr. Jones always keeps it simple. That sister said, I don't need help eating. So let's not get together to do that. There are other areas. And that's so cool, too, because you think about, we always trying to figure out, well, let's get together, let's get our people together. And we always end up around some table and food, right? And so it's like, well, we can still get together and do other stuff that is progressing, especially if it's an area where, you want to see some growth. Well, who knows how to do this, right? And so let's make sure they're there first. But I don't need no help eating. I love that. That is the word for the day. We can hang up the call right now. Oh man, that is the truth. I love it. But I hear, and the other part to that, is, and I think the other big thing to just kind of take away, and at least for me, is the power of simplicity and steps. And it's one thing and I think a lot of times, people will outline and say, okay, here's the, you always hear about the 12-step program, but do we feel like these steps are actually going to help us accomplish the big thing? And I think that's the other reason why, you know, you hear a lot of the gurus, say, dream big, have an audacious goal, go big, that kind of thing. Because if you have a 12-step program, or a 3-step program, but the goal is small, then you don't really feel like you've made progress after you've accomplished the first step. It's like, okay, yeah, I accomplished the first step, but then you look around at your reality and say, what changed? Or how do I feel about that? But when you can go big and you can think about, and at least it's big for you, big is relative, right? And so, but whatever is quote unquote big for you, and then you break it down. And then that first step may actually seem like something that you possibly have already done before at some point in time in your life. And you just hadn't done it in a long time. You were in a different space then, and that kind of thing. So you could say, I'm familiar with how to get past step one. Let me go ahead and do this real quick. Let me get back into that space. You accomplish that, and then you say step two. Okay, step two. Okay. So that's going to be something. That's going to be a new something. That's going to be, if I accomplish this, that's going to be a new marker in my mind and my spirit, depending on the goal, even in your physical, right? And accomplishing that, you will have felt as if you achieved. It's not something if you've never done it before, right? And if you have these multiple steps, at least it'll give you, so you know what, I was able to do that. And even more so, it's the fact of being able to see it, and it's broken out. And even if you have to stretch it out, I had a conversation with a new client actually here recently, and it, on the surface, that first initial conversation before they became a client, we were talking about the big goal, the big personal, the thing that would make this whole experience worthwhile. And and for them, it was the situation of creating passive income. When you're working hard, you're seeing marginal growth in income, but you're working hard. And sometimes it seems like you might even be working harder, given the shifts in the economy and which is the economy is fighting against you, if you will, depending on your business. It's like, I'm working harder, but I'm not seeing any growth. Matter of fact, I had a down quarter. And I said, well, let's just change the conversation. Let's change the conversation to, how do I begin to shift my activities to focus more on passive income? And now I'm measuring how much passive income is being created each month or each day or each week. And what is it going to take to increase that passive income? Which means that my day-to-day work may shift. I may not have to do a certain type of manual work every day. I'm now beginning to either hire somebody to do a certain piece of the job, contract that work, so I can shift more into those spaces that are more prone to create passive income. And then the question is, how soon can we get to that point where 100% of your flow of your income is all passive? And anything above that, you can, because you may love the work, you say, okay, I'm willing to do, meet with this client and that client, a couple times a week or a month, just to, go above the 100, to go maybe 125, 150% of the current cash flow. But I'm willing to do that because we got everything else rocking on autopilot, and so to be able to have those types of conversations, depending on whatever your goal is, to measure what growth looks like that's the exciting part. And I'll tell you, it's not even worth starting, at least in my book. Let me say that. I don't think it's even worth starting the process of accomplishing a goal if you're not just fired up about it. You're not excited about it. I mean, if you're not excited about it, don't start yet. You shouldn't start yet. And I should either use the term either you're very excited about it, or you are so upset about the lack of this or not having this that you're straight up mad, right? So it's whatever heightened energy that you have that's going to push you through to either create something that's necessary that you want, or to end something that is going on that you don't want to happen, or whatever the case, whatever emotion is motivating you to get started, you need to have that. Because if you don't have that, then now you just find yourself, another goal that's out there that's lackluster. You don't have the passion, you don't have the motivation, you don't have all the things that's going to help you when time and family and everybody else, it's going to start pulling on you for their time, and you're not going to have that extra energy to go above and beyond. So, but being able to simplify the process is more than important. So, Tyson, I'm so glad that you kind of highlighted that in your process as well. Anybody else? Let's open up the call. Anybody else who have any questions, comments, ready to share their processes and where they are on this 90-day goal setting challenge? We'll open up the call now.
Byron.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. So when I got started back in May, I had all planned out what I was going to do. I was going to focus on me, supposedly. and it was the thing that I was like, all right, I got to do it this year. I was on track last year, and if something major happened, just throw me way off. I'm going to get back on it this year. But you just hit it dead on the head. It was that thing that I wasn't excited about it. I wasn't angry about it. I wasn't frustrated about it enough to put every effort that I needed to put behind it to be successful. But what ended up happening is that something that I've been wanting to do that I had said earlier in the year that I wanted to get back into, I wanted to try to, put forth some effort to make that piece of growing my side job.
Yeah.
My side job.
Side hustle.
My side dollar.
Side grind.
It literally got dropped in my lap, and I got so excited about doing it. It literally was pulling me out of a funk or a state that I was in. And I've been able to put so much effort behind it, and so much opportunity has come from it that the thing that I thought was going to be the goal that I was going to work on, a part of the challenge, ended up being something totally different. And I have a habit, and I will say this, I have a habit of switching course midstream. So that's something I'm going to have to work on. I got to work on my attention span. For those of you who are out there that know how to help out people who have attention deficit disorder, but it's undiagnosed, I'm your girl to study on. But anyways, but I realized this one thing that I wanted to do has now become the thing. It is more important to me than anything right now. I put all kinds of effort into it to the point. Mom's asking me, so you still doing that thing? Because that's what I'm doing. If you ask me what I'm doing, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because that's all. I'm happy doing it. I find joy in doing it. So I just wanted to put it out there. How do you, for those of us, if you are on track, if you have a plan to do one thing and you find while you're in the middle of it doing something else that seems that is giving you that energy and that joy, that thing you want to put all your efforts behind. I don't want to say is it wrong, but is it helpful to do that sort of thing? Course correct, if for lack of a better term.
One thing I would say, the first question would be: are those things when you look at the grand scheme of what you're really trying to accomplish, are they quasi-related, right? And it just could be this one, all of it gets you excited, but they're in different phases of the ultimate objective. So right now you're focused on this. So it's not like you're kind of correcting and changing course. It's just that this was actually phase one anyway of a greater objective. And so it's really worth asking the question of, what am I really trying to accomplish? And I actually had that in my notes here. We're talking about, why we do what we do, the why, the bigger why. And I want us to have a conversation about the bigger objective, because I think that the bigger objective helps us to not feel scatterbrained. Because it's like, oh man, I was focused on this today and I was focused on that yesterday, and people think, oh, what happened? You're still doing that thing, like you said, Bonnie, and the truth is all of it is a part of a bigger objective. It's just, how is it being presented to you, right? How do you see it in your own mind, and as it relates to your flow and process and the things that you're doing now versus what you're going to do next, or versus what you're going to do next. And that goes back to having a simplistic process as to what's coming right now and what's to come and what you're preparing yourself for after that, and so, the one thing that the one thing here in the past 2 weeks, I've been spending a lot of time focusing on purpose, and when you think about a 90-day goal setting challenge that's broken up into becoming, doing, and having, then the next question is why? Why should you have what it is that you believe you should have in your life? Why? Like you said, I should have XYZ. I should have a better lifestyle. I should have more money. I should have all these different things. And you start, and so you're picturing this, all these halves that will become a part of your life, and the behaviors and the things that you truly want. You're saying, oh, why I should have it, right? And the question is why? Why should you have it? What is the why behind all of this stuff? And I think it's helpful to, at least for me, in my own ability to think through all of this. And again, this goes back to making sure your activities aren't scatterbrained, because if you're inspired to do something, you're inspired to do it. And, I see it as, I was thinking about, and Bonnie, you and I were just talking about this yesterday, but you think about people who, who farm or people who can cook. Why do people cook? Especially the ones who are really good cookers, and they're creating a meal. And so you do all this, you get the right seasoning, you get that, and boom, it's all there, and you're cooking a lot of food, right? Why? Like, is it to keep yourself fed? Is that the big goal? To make sure you have food to eat? Is that it? Or is it to make sure someone else is able to eat and make them smile and make them say, that's good? It's just like that extra something, that they walk away just, you know how folks say in the South, say, man, that food was so good, make you want to slap your mama. Like, those kind of compliments, stuff like that. And the truth is, and the real truth is, these inspirations that we have, that we want to see happen, these things that we truly believe need to come to life, are all divinely inspired. You are given these excitements, these goals, because God has said, this is what you're here to do. So when you take a step back and say, okay, that's what this is all about, I'm supposed to show off in my life because my creator said, I created you, and I want everybody to know that I can create the best. the best in so many different ways. Everybody is different. Everybody is supposed to show off in what it is their purpose is to do. So I go back to say, don't feel as if you are, scatterbrained, if you will, because your inspirations, you may be inspired to do one thing right now, and then in the middle of working on that inspiration, on that goal, something else comes in, and so you get inspired to do that, and so you kind of put that one down, and you get into that. That's a normal thing. The part that requires work is organizing your inspirations. It's just organizing your inspirations and organizing it, prioritizing it, but knowing that it's gonna happen in this lifetime, and you make that kind of mandate, right? You say, my intention is to organize and prioritize all of my inspirations so I can get those things done in this lifetime, or at least prep somebody else to get excited about it too. So if it don't happen in my lifetime, it's gonna happen in somebody else's lifetime, right? And so and I think that when we are thinking about our inspirations and what we believe we should have in this life, the things that should come to life, that should come out of the mind and into the reality, it's worth giving it a much bigger picture as to why it should happen. We have to ask the why question on all of these things that matter, that and the thing is, right, and you don't even really have to even ask the why question to anybody else other than in your prayers, because it may not resonate with anybody else, but it resonates between you and the creator, so that's where the why question comes in. You say, you know what, I am excited about this, and I do have a lot of energy and ideas about this, but why is it why am I supposed to be doing this again? And more than likely, right, the response will be, because I created you to do this, right? So now that you know that, check, that box has been checked. I was created to do this work that I see in my mind. Now the next question is, how do I do this work in a way that can have the greatest impact? And that goes back to what you were saying earlier. You start something, then another inspiration comes in, and you didn't get a chance to fulfill the impact, to actually make the greatest impact, because something else jumped in the way. And it's, listen, now, if it's an inspiration, then that's a good thing. In most cases, though, it's usually like something else that's not an inspiration that ends up getting in the way of us fulfilling, and doing all the things that we want to do, Somebody else who's said, hey, I know you're working on that, and that's cool, but we got all this other stuff we need to be doing right now. So I need you to put your little things on the side, right? Put your projects on hold for a second, and let's get back to what we're supposed to be doing over here. And that's usually what happens to our goals and inspirations, just life priorities, right? But for the purposes of this call, and I'm always lead in with that, right? The purposes of this call, while we are here to talk about personal development, growth, goals, especially a 90-day goal setting challenge, my biggest prayer and hope and objective is for everyone to walk away from this call and say, got it. I'm not scatterbrained. I'm being flooded with inspirations. That means God is talking to me. I'm being inspired on an ongoing basis with ideas, with information, with steps, with things to do. All I need to do now is organize them, and organize them in a way for greatest impact and for longevity. And so when you're trying to say, I want all this happening right now, it's like, okay, now that's when, you put yourself in a position where you're not trying to make the biggest impact. You just want people to taste a little bit, right, of this great, divine, inspired idea that you have. And the truth is, if you give somebody a little taste of what God has given you, they're going to, oh, that's good. Let's get to rocking, right? and you already got something else going on, you're not in a position to give the greatest impact yet. But when you organize it and you can see the flow, you can step back and say, yeah, okay, cool. So if I get to working on this right now, all while still allowing yourself to be inspired, all allowing yourself to continue to talk to God about the future of all of this, it's just going to beef up what you're currently working on. You're just going to be able to have more to give and to be able to apply more impact because you see what no one else sees. You see what's coming, right? And Bonnie, I'm a big Marvel head, and it's like when they have these big Comic-Con conventions, and Kevin Feige comes out there and he's teasing that all of the people were there with these new shows and these new things coming. And he's always like, well, boy, wait to this. And I'm like, what? Just go ahead and tell us, man. Like, just go ahead and tell us what you see, man. Just don't even play around. Like, let's get to it. And it's the same thing. When you are getting these inspirations and but right in front of you is what you're working on for greatest impact. It's just gonna fuel the fire of what you're working on because you can see when it's time to transition to the next step. That's the beauty of of having small steps for big goals, creating simplicity around the process, simplicity around the steps, knowing that this is a big deal. This is a big deal. It's a big deal now, and it's gonna be a big deal even further, especially if it's targeted to, whoever it is you're supposed to reach. Just like yesterday we were at 50th anniversary, wedding anniversary, and I was sitting there just thinking, like, and looking around and just thinking about people who are single and want to be married, but may have grown up in an environment where there weren't enough examples of successful marriages, and just thinking about people who throughout life who may have gotten married, didn't work out, didn't have the right examples, if you will, again, and so it's like being able to see and hear and touch and feel people who have done what it is somebody else wants to do and have a long track record of examples, experiences, successes, failures, sad, happy, all of that bundled into 50 years of an experience. And so I think I say all that to say, it's one of those situations where the big picture has to be a part of these day-to-day goals that we are working on. And as long as we can begin to organize those inspirations, prioritize them for current day impact, because impact is we're just living in a time where impact is more than necessary. And this is for everybody who's listening. Like, whatever it is that you're working on, whatever it is that you're inspired to do, before you start that process, or even if you're doing it right now, I would say give yourself almost like an impact, assessment. Like, okay, I'm doing this. This is cool. But what level of impact am I making while I'm doing this? And so some people will say, well, hey, I was just trying to lose some weight, man. What you talking about, right? I was just trying to lose weight. I was just trying to go from, 200 pounds to 180 pounds, right? Dude, that's cool. That's a worthwhile goal. But who's watching you? Who's watching you do this? Who's watching you do this with excitement? Who's watching you change the way you eat and still be happy and not complaining about it, right? Who's paying attention? And then who says, hey, I'm gonna do what you're doing. That sounds, look at what you're doing. It's pretty cool. And then they have access to another market of people who are also learning. And before you know it, you got a whole network of folks who've changed their lifestyle, all because you said, I just want to lose 20 pounds, but I want to do it in a different way. I want to do it in a way that's definitely going to provide impact for me, but not recognizing that people, a lot of times these are shared goals. Some people just may not speak up. So a lot of people are afraid to verbalize that they want to set a goal, because once you verbalize them, somebody can hear you say it. They're gonna ask you about it, right? They're gonna ask you, hey, how's that going? Like, you still working on it? How's that thing going? and you don't want to feel embarrassed, right? You don't want, I had to stop. You don't want, so people don't verbalize that they have goals just because of that in and of itself. So that first step of verbalizing, here's what I'm working on. Here's what I'm pursuing. And then they see you doing it, and they see you, we're on calls like this, right? We're surrounding ourselves with people who are also working on progress, on getting better, on personal development. So we're in class, we're in class, we're getting access to the teachers and all that kind of stuff. Other folks they don't have that kind of network. They may see it in their mind. They say, I want to do something, but they hadn't even started the process. So what you're doing is, in their mind, could be everything. And we don't recognize that. We don't recognize what kind of impact we're making on people who are watching us, who are paying attention. And they want to do it, man. They're waiting for you to say, you should do this with me. And some of them, that's all they need to do. I'm in. She asked me, I'm in. Let's go. Others will still fight it. And we don't need to beat people over the head. All we have to do is continue to be committed to our process, to what it is that we are here to do. We stay committed to that. That in and of itself, and we're on the topic of impact, right? That consistency and repetition and doing the things that is helping you create that progress is and doing it and not being afraid to share where you are. That's impact. That's impact. Because a lot of people are doing stuff, but they're afraid to share it because they're not confident that they're going to be able to continue this long term. And so, because the last thing they want is like, hey man, how's that business going that you started, 18 months ago? Oh man, I've been through about 2 or 3 businesses since then. So that's, people won't share, because they don't like, all right, well, that one, oh yeah, but check this out though, So we when we're thinking about this stage and having, and the reasons about the grand scheme of it, but then the level of impact that you can make. And listen, I've been having this conversation on boards too. Like, we need to do an impact analysis. So, like, what you talking about, bro? Like, what level of impact are we making right now? We got activities. I see we've got that going over there. We got that going over there. But relative to the core mission and the target, the folks who we're trying to reach, what do they think? Right? What do they think about these millions that we're pouring into these programs? What do they think? We need to do a self-impact assessment to see if we are not only just accomplishing what we said we wanted to do, going back to, I just want to lose 20 pounds, but what level of impact has it made for you? Because it's one thing to lose 20 pounds, but be poised to gain it all back. Impact is you lost 20 pounds and you fell in love with a new lifestyle. So there's no going back to gaining weight or going back, but you fell in love literally with this new process versus as Tysana shared earlier, people got all these diets and it's like, okay, that was just a thing to lose some weight temporary. We didn't fall in love with the process, And so whatever it is, that goal is, one, what's that first goal boom. Okay, how do we create impact? What makes an impactful change? And did it change something within me? And then the bigger level of impact, step 2 or 3, who else saw it? Who else? Hey, I want some. Put me in the game, coach. Like, I remember growing up and playing baseball and football, both, Little League and Pop Warner. I'm sitting there, man, ready to get in the game. I'm watching these all-stars out here, man, some of the best football players in the county, right, on my team. And I'm like, put me in the game, coach. Man, I can do that. put me in the game, coach. I promise you, I can do this. I can do what that boy just did. Even though I may not have had the abilities. I may not have been as athletic. I may not have had all of the skills that, those brothers had. But I watched it. I saw it. And I was like, I believed in my mind I could do the same thing because what they were doing was impactful. Just put me in the game, coach. So that's my thoughts on that, Bonnie, is just really being able to ask yourself, are your inspirations a part of a bigger objective? And if they are, then is there a process to organize all of those things and even the futures, the ones that come, because they're going to come. As long as you keep talking to God, they're going to come. You're going to get inspired to do something else. And so, and there are times that some of those inspirations will add value to what you're currently doing right now. And that's cool, so that just, that's a cool thing. But there are other times when you're going to get inspired and it's like, wow, that's going to be great once this is done, right? So that's going to be a compliment to this once this is now operational and can kind of move on its own kind of thing, So I hope that helps when just thinking about trying to organize your inspirations. Anybody else? We're at 8 o'clock. We're after 8 o'clock. I promise it wasn't going to be long, but we are now officially on the other side of long. So,
what's up, Brother D? Hello, everybody.
Brother Best.
Everybody, how you going today? Hey, man. I have to admit, full transparency. I probably, during the whole 90-day challenge, I probably wasn't fully conscious of kind of where I was with that, just because, my life assignment changed about 18 months ago, and I probably hit a bottom probably about maybe about 90 days ago, right? And so what I just came to realize is that I am in the process of refining goals that I expressed with this network probably in 2019, 2020, right? So then, whole big lifestyle change. Moved down to North Carolina. So, and just trying to find what was normal for me in Baltimore, down in North Carolina was just a challenge, right? And so I kind of felt like so just dealing with that whole shift was challenging. I kind of hit the bottom probably about 90 days ago, and I'm just starting to get some things to normal, and just build some things. And this may seem small, but the main thing has just been food, just eating the kind of foods I want to eat, right?
Okay.
Going to the supermarket and just being able to purchase the kind of produce I want, the kind of just the foods I want. That has been major for me. And so, I think I finally got some things in place with that. And then, right, I've been a caretaker for my mom, right? So I've been pouring into her, and I really hadn't been pouring into me. And kind of 90 days ago, I just hit rock bottom, bro. It was not pretty.
Yeah.
So definitely wasn't a space that I was used to. So that was challenging. And then just, being the person I am, just kind of felt some shame about that and didn't really want to express that. So I just want to thank you for having this forum where I feel comfortable, with my people sharing that. But I have to say, at this call, I just realized that I have really been just just trying to just maintain the trajectory of the things that I put in place from 2019, 2020 into now. And so what I'm realizing is that those things have kind of stayed in motion, even though I didn't feel like I was consciously putting any effort into those things. And so what I think was critical in me just maintaining maintain the momentum of that, even while I wasn't like conscious of it, is the network. Okay. I mean, from like this network, just talking, whenever we had our calls, and a lot of times I was just listening, didn't really feel like I had anything to contribute, but I was just listening, like, man, and like everybody would just like, it get me so motivated and passionate, just come on and just wrap it all up. Man, like it was so crazy, like, and I would just feel inspired, right? And so it was just like, for like 90 days, it was kind of like the first time in my life where I felt like I was part of a team where I wasn't really like a major steward of the progress of the team, because from playing sports, from with my job, like I've always been like one of the people at the lead, like people know, like, look, we know Gary's gonna bring it, we know Gary's just whatever, but like honestly, man, like probably a while back, man, I just did not have the capacity. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of felt like I was slowed in my mind, but what I realized is that network that I had established kept that momentum going, brother. And so it was just so beautiful. From this call, listening from the network where we work out every day, mm-hmm. I would just be inspired, and days I wouldn't feel like getting out there. I was like, let me go do something, right? And so that has kept me going. There's a group of people I've met on this app, like Clubhouse, like who would have ever thought I would have just bonded with some folks there. So like as far as like my investments and stuff, like I've been able to like keep that going and just networking with them. And so now I'm at the point like where I'm getting my footing back and just starting to make some progress and just kind of taking things to like the next level. So man, I just say all that to say is like you can never underestimate the power of your network and just the importance of just building that like early, because I think it can definitely carry you when you just don't when you just don't have it. So I just want to thank you.
Well, man, listen, I'm so thankful for your transparency there, because at the end of the day, we're human, and I would say the purpose of this call is not only to, I shouldn't say not only, the purpose of this call is to just highlight where you are, just here are the facts, here are the facts. And a lot of times when we are going through challenges and issues, that's when we don't want to share, because we're thinking we don't have anything to bring of value. Or in some cases, if you really hit rock bottom, you don't even know how to articulate where you are. I'll tell you, there was for me, I think I've shared this with you guys, when I was going through high anxiety. I won't use the word depression. I don't think I was there, but I was definitely going through high anxiety, and which was around kind of the height of the pandemic in 2020. And it was, and we would get closer to a mastermind call, and I would sit there and like, what in tarnations? I had to say tarnations, what in tarnations do I have to say that's going to possibly add any value to anyone else's life? Because I was at this point of just pure, just at a rough patch. And I can tell you, when I look back on that time, what we did during that time was the one thing that I was doing, and thank God I was doing, was I may not have had, kind of like life experiences that I was excited and willing to share. So I feel you on that. But the books that we were reading during that time allowed me to escape. those books. And I was actually, that's one thing I love about Facebook memories, because if whatever you were doing during a certain time, it will bring it back up. So this is what you were doing this time 2 years ago, 5 years ago, in some cases 12, 13, how long you've been on there. And this week, and so where are we now? So we're in August. 2 years ago, right now, rough. was rough, and but I remember. So some of the topics, though, some of the books that we were in were some of the best books, right? I mean, at least for me personally, and I don't even know if it meant anything to you guys, and if you even enjoyed it. But some of my favorite books, even to this day, like The Peebles Principles with R. Donahue Peebles, Call Me Ted by Ted Turner's book. What was the other? These were books that, one, allowed me to escape into their world. And some of these books, like Call Me Ted, actually I've read the Peebles Principles first, and the Peebles Principles book, in that book, he said his favorite book at the time was Call Me Ted, which was Ted Turner's book. And so I was like, all right, let me read that. And that book really allowed me to just escape from my current and go into his trajectory, his whole life, from being, vagabond poor to, his current multi-billionaire status, and so we talked about that stuff. We talked about that, and it was, and for even at that time, it may have seemed, if you go back to those calls, my energies were high because we were talking about somebody else's reality. And then we put the book up, and I was like, all right, let's get back, try to figure out how to address these this anxiety there was somebody dying every other day, and it was just crazy. So, but yeah, man. So I think that it's definitely important for us to share and communicate where we are when we're in it, in whatever form that is. And I think that's important for all of us, as time goes on. Because again, we may not be able, when you're going through it, you may not be able to fully articulate what you're going through, but you can, you can highlight the fact that there's not much progress happening right now. Here's what I'm currently experiencing. And the reason why I would say it's worth doing that, because more than likely somebody on this call has gone through that. And when they start sharing their story, you're like, oh, my situation ain't as bad as that. So, like, I'm kind of bad, but I'm not that bad. So thank you for sharing. I can get up and keep moving, right? So I think that's the valuable part of just being honest about where we are, and having a lifestyle, though, because if I'm being really honest, if I didn't have a lifestyle of book reading and prayer and just escaping, my wherever I am, and just getting into something else, something that's adding value. If I didn't have that part lifestyle, I probably would have canceled calls. I'm pretty sure I would have canceled them. I was like, hey, we can't meet today. Something came up, right? It'll be canceled calls, and the one thing is, it's always cool when somebody who was, maybe used to be active with us 8 years ago, and they say, you know what, man, I just want to jump on real quick, man, and see if y'all still doing this thing. Just saying, if y'all staying consistent over there, it's always good to jump back in, and that's, so the lifestyle part of it, I would say, is what definitely helped me during that time. If the lifestyle part wasn't there, we probably wouldn't be having this call right now, to be honest with you, and that's the beauty of personal development, because you can take on these new things, these lifestyle traits that you fall in love with. And once you fall in love with a new lifestyle trait, then we talk about be, do, and have. You're going to have it. It's a part of you now, because you get to a place where you can't see yourself without it. So it's become a new behavior. and you're all in at that point. And so yeah, brother. So I'm glad you shared it, man, because again, this it's not a straight line up. It's a up and down, windy turns, all of that. But as long as we're able to document our process, where we are, have a network to communicate, we'll be able to really be, again, going back to impact. You sharing that is impactful, because we're now hearing that. We're now hearing that it's okay to be to communicate even when you feel like you're not getting ready to share that you just won $1 million kind of thing. Like, this is just where I am. Here's where I'm trying to go, but I ain't there yet, kind of thing. And that's the reality of all of us. So I appreciate you dropping that on us, man, because that's just the truth.
You're welcome, brother.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
This is Aretha, and I too want to thank you, Gary, for sharing, because your story is actually my story. As far as, when you hit rock bottom, that's the only difference. I don't know if I'm there yet, but the fact of, what I'm going through and taking care of my mother is truly challenging. And if I had not had church and God, I definitely wouldn't have made it. Continue to make it as continue to struggle, with her, to the point where I had to terminate the contract, that great contract I was on, Byron.
Yep.
I had to terminate that. So now I'm in I'm in a lull. So I don't know if I'm in between what you two gentlemen just explained. I don't think I'm at the highest anxiety, but getting there. And so I just basically, again, trying to maintain. I know I'm going to make it through it. But like you said, when you in the storm, it doesn't seem like that. But I know he's going to bring me through the storm. And definitely, my solace has been getting up face to face, going to church on Sunday, not looking at it on Facebook. And that's what truly helps me make it through the week. So, again, thank you, Gary, but at the same time, you definitely made jokers who on the sidelines think about it. You might as well speak up. So I appreciate that.
I love it.
Just like you said, just keep it real. I'm making progress in some areas, but I'm definitely not where I want to be. And now that I've terminated this, and also, also Byron, I think you're talking about me when you talk about the 20 pounds. I'm gonna get you up off of me. I do love the process. I can say that I do love the process. Just having the focus time to complete the process, because I love actually being in the gym or so, but I can just get 30 minutes and I have to go because I'm just behind on so many other things.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. But I'm loving the outcome. It's being impactful, because when I put on my clothes, I'm enjoying that. So again, thank you all for being that mainstay, no matter when or how much I tune in. I'm always forever grateful and getting something out of it. So I appreciate you.
And the other part, because when you feel good in your clothes, it's going to come off in your energy. And when people see you, they're going to be attracted. And if they are bold enough to step up to you and say something to you, they're going to get what's coming, all that's in your mind and your spirit, all that you have to give. They're about to get it. Even though they may have came with a different intention, they may have come for a completely different reason when they see you stepping, but when you open your mouth, wow, and that's impact, right? And so whatever it takes to get us to that space, if it's a situation where you look in the mirror and say, I don't like what I see, let me do something about that. And you get into the process of not only becoming impactful to you, but then in turn, your energy, your aura becomes impactful to other people. But I will say, and this is, and to your point around when you're at a low point, there's just nothing more important. And personally, I'm thinking and then having a regiment that you're working on all the time, and so it's the same conversation I have with my, investment clients who get all scared about the markets. Oh man, the markets are down and look at my assets and all this kind of stuff. I was like, well, are you buying any shares right now? What are you buying right now? I ain't buying nothing. I'm taking my money out of the markets. Like, well, you're not preparing yourself for growth. You're not preparing yourself for the upswing. So you got to be in the game regardless if the markets are up or down. And so it's the situation. The same thing from a lifestyle perspective. I try to, again, going back to this simplicity, I try to think of things in threes. Mind, body, spirit. What am I doing today to feed my mind? What am I doing today to feed my body? What am I doing today to feed my spirit? And if I'm not doing something every day and intraday throughout the day to feed those areas ongoing, that's going to help expand, increase those three areas, regardless of how I'm feeling. I can feel great. What am I doing to feed my mind, body, and spirit? I can be feeling down. What am I doing to feed my mind, body, and spirit? Going on. Because if I'm not doing those things, then it's a wrap. I mean, it's a wrap. I don't even know any other way to say it. There's nothing to give. And then on top of that, if something great happens, and this is the way I personally see it, if something great happens, but I'm not feeding my mind, body, and spirit ongoing, then it was just luck. Or it's a God, thank you, God. you did me a solid on that one, because I hadn't been ongoing, putting myself in a position for growth, and I look at the blessings of God is that to say, hey, here's your blessing. Go do this on an ongoing basis and create a lifestyle. That's your blessing, that you know and understand that you can do that. Anything that's on top of that is just, favor, if you will, just these cherries on the top, whatever, but it's just being prepared for when things are going to get rough. Just having a system that you can adopt that things are rough, but today I'm going to do this. Today I'm going to do that. Today I'm going to do that. Things are great. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And just having a system, it's the simple system. I've been testing around with these like little equations, if you will. And I was writing this down last night. And here's an equation that I wrote last night. It says desire plus perfect practice times excitement equals glorious purpose. And I was just writing that down. So when you desire something, you want something so bad, you just have all these reasons why you want it. And that is something that is real and it's reality for you. It's something that it's there. You have that, boom. But you're willing to add perfect practice, meaning you're willing to practice the right steps to accomplish what it is that you desire. How do you find out if I'm doing the right things? Who's done it before? Who you're listening to? How do you get access to the right process to accomplish what you desire? And doing it in repetition over and over and over again. Multiply that by just being excited. Just being excited about the process. Being excited because you are actually now creating a new behavior. It's something about that, right? You think about our behaviors. And the behavior meaning things that you're going to do even if you're not thinking about it. You're going to do it. There's a flow about you that's going to happen. And you're not even thinking about it. You're now unconsciously competent at doing a certain thing. You don't have to think about it. You're just going to do it. Bonnie, you know this because last night we were coming home from my aunt and uncle's wedding anniversary, and it was dark and having big street lights out. And my daughter was like, how are you able to get here, get back to the house when it's so dark? And I'm saying to myself, I'm now unconsciously competent at getting back home, getting back to Bonnie's house, because I've done it enough now. There was definitely a time I didn't, growing up, I didn't come around this neighborhood. So this wasn't an area that I knew a lot about, but I've done it enough now I can do it. I can get here without actively thinking about it, And so when we're in that process of creating new behaviors and we're excited about it, and it's more so you don't have that. It hadn't become a behavior yet, but you're doing something over and over and over and over again to the point that it's going to become a behavior, and it, right? That's the thing. Like, it's like, I'm so excited right now because I know that the road that I'm on right now is going to lead to a lifestyle change that I can't wait to just have in my life without having to think about it. That's what I see as glorious purpose, because you're at a point now where you've created behaviors that are backed by, divinely inspired work that will make impact, because you're giving yourself an ongoing impact analysis. Am I making impact? And on top of that, you're willing to share where you are. You're not afraid to communicate where you are in the process, which in turns allows people to see where you are, and which at least puts you in the environment for impact. Because there are some people who you may never meet, and you have to be okay with that too. There's some people you will never touch and feel, communicate with, who could possibly be inspired by where you are in your progress and your process, because they either saw it in some form of social media, or they had access to someone who is linked to you some type of way, and they were inspired and they started, this whole piece. And for some people that may not be a big thing, but for me personally, there's something so valuable about impact, especially in the times that we're living in right now, where I feel like there's a lack of impact. So I feel like in so many cases we get to a point where we feel almost like the opposite of impact, which is helplessness. Where things just happen and ain't nothing you can do about it. It is happening, and that's just the way it is, and it's gonna be like this until we die, kind of thing. Like that. There are a lot of folks who are just throwing their hands up at the whole deal. Like, this is what it is. And I'm just not there. And I don't hope to ever be there. I don't hope to ever be that woman. Hey, this is what it is, kind of thing. I think that we're divinely created to solve and plug holes, to show off for the Creator. And it can only happen, though, if we uniquely, individually show off. Do what it is that we're here to do. Be purposeful on a day-to-day basis. Don't be afraid to literally go to work on what it is that you think is important. Just because the person sitting next to you don't think it's important, so what? You think it's important. And you think it's important because you were divinely inspired to think it's important. So there's no need to get approval from your neighbor. The person sitting next to you, they don't have to approve if what you think is important is something you should be doing. That's not where you get your approval from. You were created to do this work. That's it, right? So be intentional, become righteous in that process of doing it without inhibitions, doing it without fear, doing it without, and people questioning you, and that's cool. People can question you. actually that just creates an opportunity for you to communicate and share. And it's not to convince people that what you're doing is right. It's just communicating what you're doing, right? And so it's, oh, you shouldn't be doing it. Well, I'm not here for your approval. You know, I am not here for your approval. I'm here to do what I was called to do. That's what this is about. It's not about, you know, just like, you know, you get in these debates, you know, Republicans and Democrats, and they, well, you should look this way. And I'm like, you know, we're not here to debate. This is just, I'm communicating my views, my approach. That's just it. I'm not trying to convince you to become a follower, right? You know, and there are times, because the one thing, if you're really driven and on purpose about your work, people are gonna come. People are coming, right? They're gonna be a part of that because they're attracted to the work that you're doing. It's not for everybody. You know what I'm saying? It's not for everybody. But it is for the people who are attracted. And that is also part of the impact. So I just wanted to really, you know, I didn't mean to go 2 hours here today. It's like we're on that pace. But I really just wanted to try to simplify big goals and highlight the fact that our big goals are attainable if we simplify it. And to just organize what it is that those inspirations that you have, and create and make sure that we don't get away from the topic of impact. And at least we can at least hang up the call and walk away and say, okay, I got steps, you know, this, and that. Today I'm doing this, tomorrow I'm doing this, next day, you know, and so you're in that rhythm. And assess where you are. Is this a chore, or am I fired up because I see what the bigger picture is? And I'm like, it's decent, man. I ain't with this. You know, it's time to scrap the plan and get back into you. Like, sometimes we could think that a goal is something like sometimes we have goals that actually aren't divinely inspired. Sometimes we have goals that are spouse inspired. You know, sometimes we have goals that are, you know, employer inspired or kid inspired. You know, all these, you know, we're getting inspired by, you know, I shouldn't even use the word inspired. You know, it's like other people told us we should be doing it. And we're like, okay, all right. And then you got to doing it. And just now you listed in that category of goals. Like, whoa, slow down a second. Where'd this goal come from? Like, let's talk this through. Why is this on your list? Right? And you're like, oh, well, you know, I was talking with the wife the other day. It was like, oh, okay. Let's not to say that wives and husbands don't give good ideas. Well, my child got this coming up, and when that's nice and good, but is that a goal? You know what I'm saying? Is that a goal? Is that a divinely inspired goal? And for the purposes of this call, I'm sure there's some other calls where, you know, you can outline some of those other things and those priorities. But for the purposes of this call, where we are focused on personal development and being in a position to unpack all the things that are on your mind, those goals that you've had for eons, that you didn't realize God was talking to you and you just pushed them under the rug. That's what this is about. How do we unlock that? Go to work on those things and simplify a process to make those things come to life. So, anybody else? Let's take a second. We'll open the call now. Anybody have questions, comments, want to share? Didn't get a chance to jump in? We'll take a second and open up the call now.
Hey.
My man.
Morning,
brother. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm all over the place this morning. First of all, I like to thank you yet again for laying it out. You know, making sure that we not on here that long. Now let's start with that. Short call. I love a short call.
The opposite.
I'm gonna tell you one day one day I'm gonna give you my formula. We gotta do it offline, but I'll tell you how I know how long the call is gonna be. So I can tell in the first 15 minutes, like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be a 9:17 call. Ooh, let me settle in. It's the way you just gotta feel it. You gotta know it. But I'm not gonna extend it any further than it has to be. But I have had the opportunity today to actually sit down and really listen. Listen, intently. Sometimes you're doing other stuff. So I have my notepad going, and that's why I say my brain is swirling right now. It's swirling because of all the shares, and that's really the power. I mean, I do like when we get a chance to chop it up on the call, and if you just, you may talk, and then somebody else, I may say something, and we can go back and forth, kick around concepts, and that's great. That's good, and we've seen that. Due to some of the people talking, that is something that helps, and it builds consistency, and it's always a beautiful thing to just kick the vibration up, raise it, and then move on with your next couple weeks or 3 weeks or months or however long the duration thing causes. But there's also something super powerful about when people get on and share, where they are, like really share. We can get multiple shares. Mm-hmm. We can really get that. Early on, we used to call it that old Oprah effect. You know what I'm saying? Where you get on there, people get talking, somebody pops up, and hearts are pumping, and tears start rolling, and that emotional release happens. Within, and like you say, for the purposes of this call, within the realm of personal development. Mm-hmm. Not just because, somebody was abused. You're going to go on TV, oh man, I can't believe you're in there crying, thinking about the abuse of this child. That's really not building, it's just playing games with your emotions. Yeah. And that's not the case here. This is intentional, for the personal development. So why I say I'm swirling because I'm just listening to all the people, and I know some of the stuff is happening with them. And I got a chance to take my notes. And so the one thing that I want to leave with on this one, outside of the term glorious purpose, which I'm like, that's pressure. You already got, how people say, I can't figure out my purpose. And then here you pop up, well, what's your glorious purpose? Yeah. Oh, dog. You're trying to figure out an regular purpose. And then you come up with the glorious one. Give us a break. This is always something to work towards, right? So, but I did, just overarchingly, I felt like that's the idea of simplicity and lifestyle do create impact. And the fact, and I was talking, I was thinking like, the people that we know in our lives that lead the most, lead the simple, clean, straightforward lifestyle always have the most impact, large or small, with us, right? So I think about my grandfather, my mother's father, a very, very simple guy, right? He actually left New York when I guess shortly after he and my grandmother split up. He moved back to South Carolina because he was like, "Oh hell no, I can't do this New York thing. This is too much. I'm going back to South Carolina, and I'm gonna have I'm gonna have almond trees. I'm gonna plant stuff. I'm gonna be a deacon at the church. Yeah. I'm gonna drive this forward. You know what I'm saying? And his impact on me, he was very simple, man, but his impact on me was immense. Like when I thought about things that I did and directions that I go in, it's very impactful, very impactful. And then I started thinking about other people who lead that like straightforward life, even though it may seem complicated, it's very, very simple. I do this, and that. Yeah. I do these 4 things extremely well. I do it extremely well. But that's really all I do, this, and that. And I don't deviate from that. And because of that, we move. It pushes all of their desires and all their things forward because they do a very simple thing. And part of my 90 days has been, kind of honing on this release technique because I have so many things in my mind. And Bonnie hit on this, when talking about, I get a pivot. They got all kinds of switch turns for it. You got to watch it. What do they say? A course correction, a pivot, a change in direction, a new thing I'm doing. All of that can really be bullshit if you're not, you could be just doing too much. And Todd's the mistress of this, but she lays it out. That she's like, look, all this stuff is happening. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I feel it. I'm like, sometimes there's so many things that you're capable of, things that you like to do, that you should release, simplify, so that you can move forward and get it back. So I've been actually figuring out ways to assess things that come into my life and then distill them out and see if they even fit. Now, the filter of how we distill it is the why. For the people, is terminology, right? Why? The filter is the why. So I put it, I imagine this thing like a calendar or whatever, right? You put the calendar in the sink and you dump all the stuff in, and that's the why. And if it don't go through the why, if it don't make it through the why, it don't make it. And sometimes you got to run it through the why again and run it through the why again to really get down to that purity of what it is. And then if it's left there, or if anything left there, you keep that, you save that, you take that, and the rest of it, just dump it in the trash, and keep going. And that process and that thing is difficult because everything looks good. Yeah. And then as I get into that, that Johnny syndrome thing. So, wait a minute, now I can make 16,000 doing that. Oh, wait, right turn. Yeah, I'm gonna try this, to do that. And then when you was like, when you start telling people the stuff you're doing, and 2 months later, they say, hey man, what happened with that? Oh yeah, well, now I'm no, that is not who I want to be. But in many cases, in trying stuff, I've been that person, So the idea is that I want to make sure that I can be in this with the 90-day challenge is, to create a simplistic lifestyle that's focused and that allows me to be as impactful as possible. And in certain ways, in certain ways I'm not. I'm not universally across the board just lost, just going around in circles every day. But in areas, there's a lot of areas or important areas in my life where gotta hone this thing down and turn it into what I need to turn it into. So this call has allowed me to hone in on that and hear from other people's perspectives what they're trying to do, and just know that you're headed in the right direction. Because in August, for me, August also being my birthday month, the 90-day challenge month is the month of pressure. That's the pressure month because now the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, 30 days. You got to know what you going to do. What you going to talk about, man? It's coming up. You're going to have we used to have like a little party at the end. Like, hey, man, did you hit your goal? Did you go? So the pressure in that, in that 30 days, I'll take the stuff seriously. Like, hey, man, we laying it out there. Let's achieve something. Let's take the time to achieve. But in this case, and Tom said it, and everybody flipped it in. But because I was sitting here writing stuff down, I caught it. She was like, I'm not able to do all of the things that, with this program she's doing, I guess, with the lifestyle stuff. She's like, I'm getting a few things done, and I'm making incremental progress. And I'm changing. And that lifestyle, she was the first one to say lifestyle today on the thing. Like, oh yeah, not this lifestyle. I'm like, yeah. Because we are talking about life, right? We are talking about for your entire life. You know what I'm saying? So you're setting up these things that should last for your entire life. And then if you want to get, you want to get on your dream making game and say, yeah, beyond your life, 100 years, Disney, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Let's work on, actual life that's doing it. And it brought me to the last thing that God's been courting me and to do some business stuff, right? So we were talking, and this goes right into that calendar thing, right? So I'm screening these opportunities through my why, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, so we get to he's oh, you know, I said, I don't have time to talk, you know, look, come on, let's talk. Look, I'm in the morning. I'm at the gym, you know, in the morning, so I go run. Oh, my knees messed up. I can't run. I said, all right, you know, I don't want to run with you anyway. So that's my meditation time. But, all right, let's hit the gym. Let's hit the gym. So we go to, you know, we go to the gym, and because I've been, you know, kind of on it consistently, it's easy for me to get up at the time and kind of go, you know, and do my thing and leave. And he's, you know, actually like train and his work with trainers and all that kind of stuff, far more knowledgeable than me in the gym environment. You know, like, hey man, you know, I do this program, or you know, do this, and he's got his form down and all that. Right? So I say, cool, you know, I'm learning. I'm like, yeah, this is good. He's like, oh, today we're gonna do this, and that. I say, yeah, it works for me. And then he's like, oh, what you do? I said, but I'm there. But he's missing time. Like, you know, I'm there. I'm there. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, he misses Monday, he's not there on Monday. So, all right, cool. He shows up on Tuesday. Shows up late on Tuesday. Oh, hey, I'm already there. Man, we're going to do this today. I said, all right, cool, man. Listen, man. So, you know what? Hold on. Slow down.
Yeah.
We have two different goals.
Yeah.
He said, what you mean? He said, because he's looking at me like, oh, yeah. Woo, yeah, I'm going to get you right. Don't worry, man. Listen, when I get done with you, God, I say, oh, man, that's perfect, man. Listen, we have two different goals. My entire life, from this day forward, I'm going to be working out or doing something in the morning time and the beginning part of my life until I die.
Yeah.
That's my goal. That's what my lifestyle is. You, sir, are busting in here talking about your ass, talking about how you used to, and talking about, you know, this guy that you worked out with, you know, who was an NFL player and all that. That's beautiful, and I'm happy to hear for that, you know, but we're talking about your entire life.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't matter what we do. You want to do back today? That's fine. I do back. But guess what? I know I'm going to be here on Wednesday or whatever, Thursday, right? And I'm just going to do that. That's going to happen. So that aspect, he's always, yeah, I get you. But okay, I feel you. Let's go hit back. And then we just kind of move on, you know, and go. But, you know, 2 days later, oh man, I'm not there. So I'm like, I can see that. I'm not talking, breathing him down. I'm just talking about the only reason why I'm bringing it up is because he interacted. We had an intersection in one of my, one of the things that I am consistent in. So we intersected there. So I can see it at that point. Like, wow. Okay, so this is a thing that we got locked into, which is a beautiful thing as far as, you know, being healthy and just for the rest of your life. So applying those same things, that lifestyle thing, but simplifying it is so key. And there was one other piece that hit me about the call, and then we can, you know, we chop it up about it, is that people were, I know Ty had, you know, had to leave and deal with and go with her parents and, you know, her recent things that have happened. And then Beth was down there messing with his mom. And Doretha was talking about how she's, you know, a caretaker and all this for her mother. I'm like, man, that's what got me emotional, because I'm like, I love the fact, and I'm so grateful for the fact that my mother, you know what I'm saying, is moving, but she's in her 75 or 77 or however old she is. But every day, you know, she gets up and waddles on out, you know what I'm saying, and hugs her grandkids and goes. And, you know, every day that she does that is closer and closer to not being able to do that, right?
Yeah,
So I just want to live in that gratitude for that. You know, you're talking about life and lifestyle and lifespan, you know, my lifespan, I think, you know, obviously things could happen, but, you know, I like to think that it's long, but there are people who we love whose lifestyles are shorter. So, and everybody's life is getting shorter every day as we move forward. And to hear that there are people who are dealing with that in the network, it just makes me, the awareness pops up like, you know, easy, because, you know what I'm saying, you warn your mother about this, and that, but why don't you live in some gratitude, because, you know, things could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
And that's what that is. And the fact that you and Maria moved down there to kind of be, you know, a little closer to the action. You know, this is the lifestyle. That's where we are right now as far as age.
Yeah.
But I just, that piece right there, living in that emotion, and trying to stir that up, being in the wild, saying, all right, well, let's get it
going, because being successful, now taking it to the 90-day challenge, being successful, having more income, being a financial means to really be able to take care of, people in your life, or in my life specifically, is super important to me as far as a why. You know what I'm saying? And being really able, not playing with it, not hustling the system to make sure that it goes. I'm talking about really able. I'm talking about, private nurses, talking about, lifestyle assistance as people get older. It's super, super important. That's living at the top of my goals. And being able to do that is part of the why.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But that's kind of how what I took, and then just that I got a chance to write my notes and all that. So I got a chance to just go through it and see. I hope I touched on everything. And one other thing, I'm sorry, and then we done. The other thing that is a challenge, and I'm going back to this, and me and Bonnie, only because that's something that she brought up that I know that I deal with as well. That kind of moving, that moving around, but Best tied it up when he brought up the term momentum, and that's what you lose when you make those too many pivots, too many cuts. You talk about football, most dudes, one cut, two cuts. You can't make that third move to break away. And all the time they always say, man, if you just hit the hole first, one cut and then go. One cut, go. And that the momentum and that speed is what really helps you get further along with the thing. So when I stop from one business, scrap it, and I get into a totally different business, it's not, from here to that this, and then you move over here to that, and after that you're doing this, and these things are like silos. That momentum, there is no momentum in the next business other than your desire. But if you do pick something and you stick with it and you put that good effort into it, you build momentum, and then eventually that thing becomes easier and easier, and then at that point you can pivot a lot easier and probably still have those things going. And I know this happens to you all the time in the financial world, as far as money and all that kind of stuff, but it also applies, to laws of nature. It applies, when we're trying to start stuff. So that's another little dangerous thing about not sticking to something or pivoting or going in a direction, that you lose the momentum. So you pick it and then grind it out as much as you can, So that's the one thing I did have a note on. If that talked about having momentum, I was like, yeah, that's right. Because when you stick to one thing and you keep it going and you push it, that momentum is something that can carry you through those challenging times. You keep talking about having it. Same thing with you. I've put the rhythm and I got the momentum of having personal development in my life. So as I ran into that bump in the road, that momentum kind of just carried me on through, the foolishness. So that's it. That's what I got. I'm sorry I was talking a little longer, but I actually had notes today. So there we go. Bam. Yeah. Feeling good. But can I ask something real quick?
Yeah.
Brother D?
Yeah.
Hey, Paz, brother, thank you. Brother Paz, thank you very much, brother. I appreciate how you just wrap everything up, man. That, to me, I love the entire call, but that part for me is that epic moment, man. It's like that build up, right? And then it's just you know what I'm saying? So thank you, brother. Admittedly, that's the part I look forward to every call. But I did want to add one thing, brother. As you prepare for your mom and how to make sure she has the best care, brother. Man, money is not the issue, man. Between the resources that my father built when he transitioned and left my mom, and my mom, just preparing all her life. She has a great pension. Money isn't a problem, man. It's just that, making sure my mom is comfortable, right?
Yeah.
I feel like my mom sacrificed for me to be where I am, so I wouldn't even. So the challenge is finding somebody that my mom is comfortable being in her house, right? Because for her, that's always been sacred. So I just can't find anybody down here, and maybe just a little bit more challenging being where I am in a remote part of North Carolina.
Carolina, and then it's like even like family. Like sometimes you can't even like say no family because they may have ulterior motive because they feel like you've made it, so now you feel obligated to give me this and give me that. So to kind of like shield my mom from all that BS, I was like, I need to be here. So honestly, I don't think anybody could kind of have my mom in like a level of comfort to like the point that like I have. So like, but I definitely think over my life, like, man, what decisions could I have made differently that would have made it easier for me? I was like, yeah, maybe I could have gotten married earlier, so could share with my wife, or maybe I could have, I think the only thing I would have done differently, I think I probably could have done differently, is just build, maybe kind of like just work on the mentality of my family, like a lot more, so that it's not, or maybe even like help them build wealth a lot more, because it's coming up, it was all, my parents were all like, look, we gonna make sure we all right. So, Gary, we gonna make sure you got something when you leave. My father was like, I want to make sure my family has something, if I transition before y'all, and my mom did the same. So like sometimes it's not even about money, man. It's about making sure those around you too are good, so that you can depend on them also. So and so, but ironically, as I'm thinking about that, it goes back to network too, because if my mother, father, and myself had built maybe like a network of other people around us who kind of prepare differently, then maybe I may have a little bit more like freedom to do some things rather than be here. Now, I do have some relatives who I can trust with my mom, but still, man, it's never to that same level of care. You know what I'm saying? Like, I may come back home after a trip and like something is broken, or somebody may come over here who I know they want to come over here if I'm not here. You know what I'm saying? Because it's gonna be a problem. You know what I'm saying? So think beyond money, man. Think beyond money. Like, so even with your mom, it's about the network. That's all I wanted to share.
Yeah. Well, listen, you guys are hitting right on the head with me right now. I mean, the whole
Hold on, D. Before you go, I just want that earlier statement. I appreciate that, Pastor. We're gonna work. Thank you. And that's the beauty of the network. See, you laid out. We like, get the money right, but make sure your network is together, because you don't want to have this big pile of money and all these jokers floating around, and you can't get that peace of mind with all that dollars. Thank you.
That's it. 100%.
Thank you for that. And then also, thank you for, she recorded his second comment. The second comment was powerful, but his first comment about how, hearing me is what really is what it's all about. I just want you to rap.
That's definitely on the record.
He had COVID recently, so I know he may be still suffering from, brain fog and stuff, but I'll take it.
Hey, it's definitely on the record. I heard him say it a couple times. Actually, he started it off early. He was like, he threw it in there. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, hey, when Brother Paz, wraps it all up. When Brother Paz wraps up all that mumbo jumbo Dees was talking, he made it simplicity. Talking about simplicity. He said, but when brother Paz brings it to earth.
I had to say something. Thank you. I appreciate it, though, boy. We here, man. That's what we about. That's what it's about.
Oh, man. I love it. Two quick things, and then we'll wrap on out of here. That I wanted to highlight what you guys were sharing. One thing is, it's amazing in this finance space, we get a chance to meet these guys. There are people who are just serial entrepreneurs. And there's a method to the madness. So literally they will start a business with a 18-month exit objective, 12-month exit objective, 24 months, so we're gonna make quick impact, fun, fully funded, go hard for 12, 18 months, and then sell it, flip the business. Just like, people flip houses. There are people who flip businesses. And the interesting part about that is you could meet a guy and they can say, I got this company, it's called, Widgets R Us. And and every time you see them, they talk about Widgets R Us for a solid like 10 to 15 months. And then you see them 2 years from now, say, man, how's Widgets R Us going? He was like, I'm doing XYZ now. I sold Widgets R Us. That business it accomplished its purpose. I went hard, flipped it. That money is now helping me to scale these other ventures. And so I wanted to throw that in there because to have multiple ideas and businesses and activities going on, as long as it's part of a bigger objective, hey, that's all good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with that. That's actually beautiful, right? The part we want to just highlight is the fact that if we find ourselves doing multiple things, but it's not a part of a bigger objective, and it's reducing or diluting the potential impact that the work we're doing on this thing that's in front of us right now, then we want to highlight and call that out, because at the end of the day, we want you to be doing work that is purposeful and impactful. So you're getting the value of the work that you're doing. It's making you feel as if your time on this earth is more than worthwhile because you're doing purpose-driven work. And then the fact that others are benefiting from that creates the impact. So I want to just highlight that and I don't want those two things to seem synonymous, because we all know people who have been successful as serial entrepreneurs or serial investors, if you will. So I'll highlight that. The other thing that you got, and it seems like everybody on the call today has shared, even in the case of, Tysana, last year when she left Baltimore, moved back to her hometown in Pittsburgh, and was able to be hands-on with her parents, and particularly her dad, who just passed away. One running theme that we've had on this call today is that there is this unique energy within everyone who shared, who is, extending and putting energy back into their parents. Parents raised them, raised us, helped us to have a foundation to go into the world on. And then now we're at that stage of life where we're shifting that energy back to them. Completely uprooted my whole family 1,000 miles, to be hands-on and to not wait until, it's an emergency, you got to get down there because things are bad kind of thing, but to be a part of that quality of life story. I think back to my grandparents and what they did for, their aunts and uncles and siblings and everything, and it was able to take care of them, give them a better quality of life throughout their latter years. And then my parents did the same thing for my grandparents, and so it's just kind of that circle of life. Especially when we talk a lot about our foundation on this call, and our foundation is what motivates us to do things like this, so I know other folks who will say, I wouldn't care what happened to them, because whoop, and when I was 12, they did this to me, and when they're just kind of unpacking what their foundation looks like and what those issues or what the situation was, why it's forced them not to be supportive or to help folks who raise them, So it's interesting to be able to take a look at what matters to us and why. and what we're willing to do for things that matter to us. So just wanted to highlight that, and it's a powerful thing, and it's something that it's a blessing to be able to do. Yeah. All right, guys. It's 9/11. Much longer than I expected to keep you guys on this call. But we are in the last month. And so this is the time. And I think that, Paz highlighted the fact that, it all depends on how you think about your challenge. He looks at it. It's time to push the gas. I got goals. I want to get this goal accomplished by the time we get on the next call, so we could be able to highlight at least the story of where we are with those goals. Others may say, my success is in my process, and I can tell you where I am at the end of the month, but I'm my foot's on the gas now, so we're going, and it's just going to continue on, and then we'll kind of move into a different phase. But at the end of the day, I really want us to be able to have a big picture around what it means to be in the month of this particular month, where we're focused on having what it is that we've been working for, and the process to have it, and why having it is even important, and so being able to have a simplistic process, 1, 2, 3, here's what I'm doing every day to get better, to measure my growth, creating a new pathway, a new process, a new behavior, and on top of that, being able to assess what this current goal, the role it plays in the greater objective, in the greater objective of you showing the world, what purpose-driven looks like from your perspective. People look at you, they see you, they understand, they can see your glorious purpose, if you will, the energy that you're putting out. It doesn't have to be a product or a thing. It's just what you bring to life, what you bring to this world. When somebody meets you for the first time, what energy are you sharing into them? Because wherever you go, it's coming. Wherever you go, it's there. And it's like, you watch people who are moving, and it's like they have like this glow or aura moving with them, because they're bringing all that is purposeful to them to wherever they go, and it's important to be able to document, identify, and know what you're bringing when you go places. When you speak to somebody, what's coming out of you and going into somebody else? And what are we giving people? And knowing that whatever, and is it intentional? Or have you gotten to a place, and are you at least pursuing something within you that you want, that what's coming out of your mouth, or the energy that you give, was that intended? Or are you in a space right now where, you could be giving out something you don't want to give off, right? And it's just important to know where you are, because we have an intention around what we want to give. And then there's also kind of the reality of what's happening in your world. And if you are in that space, which we're going to be from time to time, the question is, what are we doing? What's our regimen ongoing to make sure that we're at least continuously adding value to our mind, our body, our spirit? What are we doing to feed our growth? Even when we feel like we're down, even when we feel like we don't have much to give, what's our process? How are we growing? How are we developing? What's making us stronger? What do we need to do that we're not doing? And so that's the beauty of personal development, to have a process that you agree with, that you're excited about, that feels good to you, even though you're at the top or you've hit a low. But we still have a process that we're focused on, and you're connecting with people who you believe can add value to your growth. You can learn from where they are. And we, as long as, there's life in my bones, we can keep these types of this particular medium together and fresh and available to share and to at least, hey, this is where I am right now. This is where things are, and be able to unpack the reality of today, all while knowing we hadn't given up. We hadn't given up on what's possible, what we believe can be created, that we truly want to create. So let's make it rock. Anybody else have any questions or comments before we finish up for the day? All right. Well, I appreciate you guys. And I didn't pull up one book today. Now, granted, this was not quote unquote a mastermind call, and I have been reading, but I didn't pull anything out for today. But whatever you're using to invest into your mind, if there's anything you guys are doing that we should know, share that with us. Let us know. Make sure you go to our website, www.dreammakersnetwork.org, dreammakersnetwork.org. Sign up, get on the profile page, schedule time if you want to sit down and rap, and just schedule a Zoom or something we can catch up on. Let's do that. Anything. Let's just stay connected, keep the flow going, keep the connection going. We want to make sure that we're still making sure we're connecting with each other throughout. So, all right, folks. Brother Best, let's connect offline here in a second. And have a great week. And we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, peace. Good day.